Greetings, everyone. Master Grogan here. Hope you're having a fantastic day, and welcome to another life-changing episode of Grogan's Bulletproof and Kicking Life, where we're overcoming our fears and battling through our challenges to stand up to any bully we face, both real and, of course, the one in our mind. That's the meanest, nastiest bully we'll ever face, right? Yeah. Well, how do we overcome? How do we battle through? Well, we're going to talk about that. Now, if you're tuning in for the first time, thank you so very much for taking time out of your busy day. I know how valuable time is, and the fact that you're going to spend time with us. And I promise you, I'm going to give you everything I've got, bring on the best guest in order to empower you. Yeah, with that hope, that self-confidence, that belief in yourself to stand up to any bully you face. As I mentioned, both real and in your mind. Well, today we've got back at us again. If you're watching the live stream here, this is our Spotlight show. Now, those just listen to the podcast, I encourage you. We do the live streams on Thursdays, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Tune in. You can see the guest. Put a face with the voice, and you can jump right in and ask questions right along with it. Now, those listen to the live stream, you get early access before anybody else, and you get the opportunity to ask the questions to our guest or me or whatever's on your mind there. But the beautiful thing about that is you can go on Monday when the podcast airs globally. You can listen to it again, and I encourage you to do so, because it's just like reading a book a second or third time. You're always going to pick up on something you may have missed the first or second time. It's almost like you're going to think, man, was that a whole new show? I didn't hear that the first time. Well, that's you can only take in so much. That's why I encourage you to listen more than once. So who's on our Spotlight show today? Well, if you're watching the live stream, you can see her lovely face right there. But I'm going to do my best to give her the intro that she deserves. And of course, I like to hold the name to the last. So those that know her, you're going to find out some stuff that maybe you didn't know. She's an entrepreneur, a mother, author of the life-changing book, The Only Way Out, which I have a copy of right here. Oh, gotta cover up the name. Goodness gracious, what are you doing? There we go. There we go. She's passionate author, copywriter, and mother. She's in Toronto, Canada, and she is a Leafs fan. I know a lot of our followers are hockey fans, knowing that I was a hockey player growing up. Yes, I'm still a Blues fan, even though I'm in Florida. I do like the Lightning, but I love my Blues. And the Toronto, those that are old hockey fans, they used to be in the Blues division way back in the day, but that's changed now. They're in the Eastern Conference, and that's that. All right, well, moving on. What does she do? She's the owner and principal copywriter of Striking Content and content writing, strategizing business. Her life is rich with a breadth of experience ranging from competitive sports, travel, to academics and entrepreneurship, to motherhood and the pursuit of dreams. I almost gave her name away because I got it in the write-up here. Writes with the intent and purpose to make her readers feel good and learn and do things. Feeling good is something we talk about a lot, because if you feel good, man, you're willing to do more. You're willing to take more risks, willing to take more chances. If you're feeling, you're not willing to do that. And that's the whole inspirational part, the kick and life part of the show. So who am I talking about? Well, you see her on the screen there, and I asked off the air to make sure I got the name right. It's Katie Kuperman, right, Katie?
Kuperman.
Oh my gosh! You're hyphenated that. Oh, goodness gracious! There it is, Katie Kuperman. Man, oh man, I forget my own name.
It's a common mistake.
Goodness! Everybody likes to have their name on the air, and here I bone it up. I would edit it out, but people that listen all the time, that I just roll with it because I'm a goof. I make mistakes. That's all part of life. I didn't used to be able to admit those mistakes. But that's part of that Bulletproof, saying, "Hey, we all goof up." All right, well, enough of me. Katie, welcome to the show. How are we doing?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, you are so very welcome. Thank you for connecting with me on LinkedIn there, and I'm sure you get a lot of requests too to talk about or interview with people. So I'm grateful that you took the opportunity to come on here. Once you sent a LinkedIn request, and I checked it out and saw your book, I said, "Oh, now this is a no doubter." To have Katie on the show to talk about her book and the amazing things she's doing. Well, Katie, I did my best to give you all the accolades that you've earned and deserved, but if I've missed anything, please fill in the gaps.
You did an absolutely fantastic job. It was a wonderful intro. Thank you. Very humbled.
Well, everything except for the name, right?
Except the name. But you know what? You're not the only one. It's my married name, Kuperman. Yes. And my husband always says to people, it's Superman with a K. Superman with a K.
Oh, well, there we go. I should have done that. Well, and those just joining us on the live stream, we got Miss Katie Kuperman, author of the best-selling, well, it's going to be best-selling if it's not already, The Only Way Out. And she's going to talk about that today and talk about what she's doing to empower folks. And as always, if you're tuning in, make sure you jump on the chat box there, ask any questions that are on your mind, and we'll do our best to give the best answer. So Katie, please give a shout out to family, friends, anybody. Everybody loves hearing their name on the radio, on the podcast, on the air. So fire away on anybody, and don't feel bad if you forget somebody, because you tell them if they would call more often, you wouldn't forget them. That's how I always get out of that one.
I love that. That feels like the award ceremony speeches when everybody has to say all their names and they're rushing on this piece of paper to say everybody that matters to them. And they're always going to forget somebody. It's true. So yes, I'd love to make shout outs to, I guess first and foremost, my husband, Gabe. He's, my number one fan, always supporting me in everything that I do, driving me forward. And I'd love to say hi to my two kids, Tess and Brody. The gems and the joy and the sunshine in my life. I love, my favorite part about being a parent is getting to be a big kid again. I actually think there's so much value in that as a person, going back to those childhood roots. There's so much we can learn from our childhood, and going back to remembering that, I feel truly blessed to be able to do that every day. Then I'd love to say hi to my two parents, Ona and Rod. True inspiration in my entire life. Again, supporting me in absolutely everything that I set my mind to. Wouldn't be doing the things I'm doing today without them, for certain. And, from an extended standpoint, I have so many friends. I really am truly fortunate to have such an incredible circle of support. And it's something that I talk about on a regular basis too, how important that is. And sometimes I fear that kids that are going through tough spots, I don't know that they have that real circle of support. So I'm blessed from all my friends dating back 20 years, my high school friends. I've got dance friends. I'm a dance teacher now as well on the side. I've got work colleagues, and I've got extended family, my relatives, cousins, and so forth. Everybody is really supportive, and most of all, just generally incredible people to be around, truly. And I'm very grateful for every single one of them.
Awesome. Well, wow, you covered it. You got them all in there, and you feel good. And I'd really like to chime in on the, I often talk about, I gave a presentation not too terribly long ago to a middle school group of kids. And I started off with, you show me your 4 or 5 friends who you hang around with the most, and I'm going to show you where you're going to go in the future. Now, people often say, well, shouldn't they be having hang around with a diverse group of people? I said, well, you want to do what you can to empower as many people as you can. However, your greatest connection are going to be your greatest influences. Meaning, if you're around people that are constantly negative, constantly down, constantly talking about how horrible life is and how society's going to hell in a handbasket and everything else, before you know it, you're going to start believing that. And a common one is, if maybe you don't smoke, but if you're around 4 or 5 people that do all the time, I guarantee you're going to start doing that, simply because that's your influences. Now, of course, on the positive side, you're around authors, you're around inspirational, motivational speakers, you're around people talking about goals and dreams and aspirations, and you're automatically going to say, wait a minute, I'm going to rise up. And I call that your engines and anchors. Engines are driving and pushing you forward. Anchors are holding you back. And sooner or later, you got to cut that. Doesn't mean you disassociate with them, but maybe spend a little less time with them until you're empowered enough to bring them along on the journey. So great tie-in there. Very good tie-in.
Yeah, thank you. And I couldn't agree with that more. I think there's that one famous saying, you are who you hang around with, right? And I truly do believe that. Absolutely.
And go Jim Rome, the 4 to 5 people you hang around with the most, you are a percentage of them. And that's who you're going to be moving forward. Well, good stuff. Well, talk a little bit about this amazing book, The Only Way Out, a bully, a victim, and a bystander whose lives will never be the same.
Yes. Okay. So shall I start from the very beginning?
Whatever works best for you.
Okay. Just because there's quite a backstory to my whole journey with that book. So I'll tell it right from the start, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
It was about 7 years ago, believe it or not. And I think I always knew in my life that I wanted to write a book. Ever since I was little, I recall having this large sort of journal booklet, and I would be jotting down little story ideas. I don't know that I ever finished one. My parents are currently in the process of trying to dig that up for me, because I'm very curious if they can find any of these stories. But I think I always had that in me. And then I, inadvertently, I really didn't think I was ever going to be a writer in life in terms of a professional career. But I sort of stumbled upon that and realized this is really where I wanted to be, and that gravitated into starting my own business and becoming a full-time copywriter under that business and writing all different kinds of marketing materials for clients, ranging from anywhere between websites to articles, blogs. Then I got more into bigger pieces of work, so ebooks and white papers. And then after that, I really started getting involved in even ghostwriting people's books. So people would start coming to me and I would be their 100% ghostwriter behind the scenes, writing their book or mini story or whatever it was. And so for years, I was helping people bring their stories to life. And I think it was really only logical, perhaps, that at some point I would want to bring my own story to life. And so that's where, that drive was in me several years ago to do that. But I always struggled with precisely what topic to start writing about for my book. What was my book going to be about? My whole life, I think I've always been an advocate and a believer in treating people kindly, being confident and self-assured in who you are, being yourself, spreading that positive energy wherever you go. And so I think I always had that in me, but again, didn't really know what to write about and how. So I was at the gym one day, I was catching up on some news on my phone, and that's when I came across the Amanda Todd story. So Amanda was a teenager in British Columbia, Canada. Quite a gripping story that she told, and what she did was she told this through a flashcard video like this on YouTube. She didn't say any words, but her entire story was told through these flashcards. And she describes her story as one of bullying, struggle, self-harm, and suicide. And she went through a lot. Her story has become quite a followed one, I will say, over the years. But in that moment, when I came across her story, I was literally moved to tears at the gym on that elliptical. And I was just deeply moved by what this girl went through. And to know that at the time that I was watching her moving video, she was no longer in this world. She had taken her life. And it was that day I knew exactly what I wanted to write about. So the book is not her story. It is a fiction novel, but it was her story that inspired me to start writing. And so I worked on, evenings and weekends outside of my regular work time with striking content. And it was one of those scenarios. I don't know if you know this term, but you probably do. You're an author as well. You're either a plotter or you're a pantser as you're writing. So if you're a plotter, you plot out everything to do with that book, right? Here's my first chapter, second chapter, third chapter, fourth. Here are all the points I'm going to cover. Here's how I'm going to bring it all together. And then you start writing. Or you quite literally start writing. You have no idea where it's going to go or what it's going to do and the journey that you're going to have with this story, but you just start writing. And that was me on this book. I was a pantser. I didn't know that I was going to go into highly medical situations. I didn't know what my climax was going to be. I didn't know that I was going to touch on mental health. I didn't know any of that. I literally let this whole writing process just guide me. And if I think back, it was such an incredible experience to just have that writing freedom and to just let this story pour out of me and take me in whatever direction that it would. So that's what happened. And I put it out there, but if I have to be honest, 7 years ago when I started to put it out there, it just wasn't for real. It wasn't the proper push that I was capable of giving it. And if I want to be super, super open and honest and transparent about why right now, I would say that was mostly out of fear. Fear that I wasn't really a fiction writer. I'm a nonfiction writer. I'm a marketing writer. How do I know how to bring a story like that to life? No. I'm going to write. That was just my first crack at a book. I'm going to go do something else, something better. And, then life happened. I had 2 kids, still running my business, of course, busy in many other ways, prioritizing them, always, wanting to give them as much time as possible. And now fast forward, and I remember the beginning of 2020, I said, this is the year I'm going to write a book. So I have a whole bunch of ideas between then and now, many more ideas I want to write about. But something made me in that first couple months of 2020. I thought, okay, before I start writing a brand new book with a brand new concept, let me go back and read this manuscript that's simply sitting on my computer. Let me see if I still like it. Let me see if I still think there's anything good here. And so I did that, and I loved it. And I was still very much drawn to the subject matter. It's still something I'm so passionate about, but it was outdated. So then I took the better part of a year to update it, to bring it more to be for a current audience. So I brought in social media, more cyberbullying, even Uber is in there, at one point, just making it a little bit more current for today's audience. And then after that, I edited the end. I had a couple beta readers that were helping me with things that might have been maybe not so realistic. So I fixed certain parts. It was a complete rewriting process. And then after that, that was now we're going into early 2021. I was ready to go into print, and I was literally about to click the submit button to my publisher. And I was overwhelmed by this strong desire to somehow honor Amanda's name. Would there be a way that I could possibly do that? And so I sought out her mother, Carol Todd. Carol Todd is a huge voice in the bullying prevention space. And I couldn't find her through the foundation. So she created a foundation in Amanda's name called the Amanda Todd Legacy Society. I wasn't getting answers through there. And then it was actually my husband who said, why don't you find her on social media? Find out where she's active and send her a message. So I did just that. I sent her a message. I told her who I was, what I'm doing, what I'm trying to do, what I would like to do with this book. I sent her a sample of the book. And then she got back to me and told me that she would be honored. And now I am so pleased to say that I have this book dedicated to my two children and to Amanda Todd. And when that happened, that gave me so much added meaning and purpose behind what I was doing. It really meant a lot to me. And from there, the book went into print. And then after that, we connected a couple more times, Carol and I. She put my book in she does every year a silent auction online for the Amanda Todd Legacy Society. So the book was in there, 2 copies, and that was in the auction. We were involved that way. And then after that, I reached out to her and I said, let's do a donation partnership. I would love to send part of the proceeds of this book to the Amanda Todd Legacy Society. And so that's exactly what happened. And so now I'm so pleased to say that a part of the proceeds will be donated to the Amanda Todd Legacy Society as well. And that's my entire story in a nutshell.
Bluetooth connected.
Did we get disconnected again?
You're good. Whatever happened, but I could. You keep going. We had people actually drop comments in, and I started replying to them. And next thing I know, we were a little light on audio. But keep going. I'm sorry about that.
Oops, I'm sorry. Do you think it's my end or your end?
No, it was clearly on my side. So
okay.
You're doing great, Katie. I appreciate it. Folks, thanks for your patience. I'm sure it was all good because it goes through a different channel. I just wasn't able to hear everything. And next thing I know, I got my thing over here. So sorry about that. It seems like every show, this is episode number 301. I haven't been doing this many live streams. This live stream is kind of a new thing, but it is. We had Chris Saden came on and said, thank you, Ms. Kuperman. I already know that I'm buying this book. So there you go.
Oh,
another
thank
big
you
sale.
so much. Thank you so much.
And folks, just go right on Amazon to buy it. Or Katie, give us your website, and then we'll get back to your story there. Sorry about that.
Sure, that's okay. The website is www.theonlywayoutnovel.com. Theonlywayoutnovel.com.
And they can also follow you on Facebook and LinkedIn and
Absolutely.
other platforms. YouTube,
Facebook,
do you have YouTube?
LinkedIn. I'm on YouTube. I'm not as active on there as you just yet. Instagram, Katie Kuperman Writes. And the other ways to connect. I mean, even on the website, you can see all the different places to get the book as well. So it's Amazon, Indigo in Canada are the best. In the US, again, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other ebook sites as well.
Awesome sauce. Well, good stuff. Well, please, and I apologize for the goof there. And those listening to the live stream, I don't edit anything out. Those listening to the podcast, hey, it is what it is. And I do that for a reason.
Uh-oh. Now I can't hear you. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. I'm here, but I cannot hear you. Oh, maybe that worked.
Pairing.
Oh, pairing. I hear pairing.
Bluetooth connected.
Bluetooth
right.
connected. Oh, we're
You heard
back.
that? There we are, back again. Well, thank you. Chris jumped on. She cannot hear you. Thank you, Chris. We got Chris doing all the narrating for us. So, man,
Oh, thank you, Chris.
awesome job. Oh, man. Well, back when I lived in Illinois there, the recording studio was in our hometowns. I just went there and bingo. Thanks, buddy. Uh, they handled all this stuff. Now I'm trying to do it on my own.
Uh-oh. I think I lost you again. Oh, no. Uh-oh. No earphones.
Uh-oh, old school.
Old school.
No earphones. So I'm not sure how the recording will be for the producers. I know here it will be fine, but that's all right. So
You still sound good to me.
Well, well, thank you. I'll push the big microphone out of the way, and I'm just using the iBook or MacBook.
There you go.
Whatever this is I'm on. Well, at least my hair should look better. I have the earphones pushing my hair down. I'm like 2 weeks overdue for a haircut. But anyway, so there we go. All kinds of stuff on there. You never know what you're going to get on the Grogan's Bulletproof and Kicking Life podcast. You got wonderful guests all the way from Canada, Toronto, Canada here, and her connection is fine. And here in the States, I don't know what the heck's going on here in Florida, but we're going with it, folks. We're going with it. We're getting narrating and keeping us both appraised, and he's thank you. All right. Okay. Well, Kate, let's keep this baby rolling here.
All righty.
A little fun break. And those out there, I get questions literally every single day. How do you do the podcast? How do you do the video blogs? How do you do? Well, now you're seeing that nothing is, especially life, nothing's sunshine and rainbows, and nothing is flawless either. You're going to have your goof ups. You're going to have your mess ups. Just roll with it. It's not the end of the world. Katie hasn't left, so we're still in good shape.
You know what? I actually really admire that. Even when I do any kind of videos on social media or anything else that I'm putting together promotionally, I try to just do one cut. It is what it is. This is the real deal. That's it.
We got Kevin saying hi to Katie.
Hi, good Kevin.
Stuff. All right. Well, back at it here. If this works out, I could do. I'll have to hear the audio afterwards. But this big old microphone's a pain in the tail, and this, and so anyway, we're going to town. So back to the book, and I apologize. Maybe give Chris. I'm a retired TV weatherman. This is no problem. I'm here to help. Right.
Nice. We have a professional.
Holy smokes. Now those listening to the podcast, so you're like, what the heck is going on here? You're missing all this wonderful live stream stuff. And those watching the live stream, when you listen to the podcast on Monday, you're going to say, oh yeah, I remember that. And Chris, when you're listening, you go, yeah, I was helping do all this. So,
yes.
Okay. Back at you, Katie. Sorry about that.
No problem. Okay. What do you want me to do? Give you a brief synopsis of everything I said or what?
I got it all the way until you know what I'm gonna and I was doing a pretty good job because I was cut off of keeping quiet, which is a problem of mine. I got a bit of a talking problem, says my second grade teacher, but Richie talks too much. But, yeah, so I started my book 2013, and it was now I'm a guy that barely graduated high school. I really have no business writing a book, especially ADD, ADHD, and all the things I was never diagnosed with, but I'm quite sure I have. Squirrel, you know. But I just started a collection of throwing everything on paper. I've got on how many full journals, and I said, you know what, I'm going to do this. And boy, oh boy, it was one thing just to throw everything down and just type like crazy, get all the thoughts out of here or the thoughts I'd written down in a journal on paper. But then it was another thing to kind of compile it in some kind of organized manner that anybody would want to read.
Yes.
So that was a journey by itself. And this is when I give presentations to high school kids. Listen, you get education for free at high school, or even if you go to a private school, it's a heck of a lot cheaper than having to hire a writing coach, an editor, and someone else to keep you focused and a coach on track. So take advantage of that because did I ever know I was going to write a book? I always enjoyed putting my thoughts down, but no, I never thought I would, but it's the right thing to do. So I encourage others. Everybody's got a story.
Yes.
Get it out there.
Yes.
But the book it's due out. We finalize the release date. Those that keep asking, thank you for caring enough to keep asking, is April 26th. So yes, we finally got a launch date, and nice. we're gonna hammer that baby out. And just a quick recap: it's me as a 12-year-old meeting me as Master Grogan 40 years later, and we go on a journey together. But just like you said, there, Katie, it was. Something was missing from the book, and I don't remember what edit I sent to the editor, the writing coach, and everybody else. And they said, well, it sounds like you're giving a speech, which is good, but you need to turn this thing into a novel. You need to narrate and have narration. And I said, okay, I don't know what the heck that is. That's true.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. So I go back to it, and I give it back to them, and it's like 65,000 words. They say I'm about 25,000 over the mark. I got to chop it all down. I had a little meltdown, threw it in the trash, and stormed around like an idiot, and went and punched stuff, and it's me, had to get it out. And I came back to it, pulled it out, and like, all right, let's do this thing. But you have to have those. So those that ever intend on writing, intend on doing something like this, just do it. You're going to mess up. You're going to have unexpected goof ups, but roll with it, because
absolutely,
I think it's coming out. So, all right, back to you, girl. Sorry about that.
No problem. What do you want? Would you want me to recap what I said, or what do you want me to do?
Chris has got 2 books to buy now. Well, maybe kind of jump in to, so how long, and I missed that, and I apologize, and it's probably in here that I overlooked, but how long's the book been out? And what opportunities has this book opened up for you to not only spread the message here, but what's in your heart to empower others? And kind of, you see it on the top of the screen there, empower others with hope and self-confidence. And that's the guests I try and have on who are doing that to make society a happier, healthier, and safer place to live. Because, man, oh man, we could sure use it.
Yeah, I agree. So the book was officially released in October on the 14th, 2021. I really felt this was not planned whatsoever in terms of the timing. But once that book was launched in October, I had, a number of colleagues and people I was speaking with that said, you realize this timing is perfect. You know that Canada's biggest anti-bullying day is in February. And that had kind of slipped my mind, to be perfectly honest. But I started to, do more research around that and the organizations involved. And I know that the USA has also a massive anti-bullying week in October, as well as International Mental Health Day, also October. Now, I wasn't quick enough for those. To be honest, it was all in and around the same release. So I'll be going after that full force in 2022. Because I find it's all about the relevance, right? It's all about the timeliness of whatever it is that you're doing. And in particular, if you want people to relate, it's nice to tie it to a day or tie it to another purpose. So I was really on a big mission in the last 2 months to try to get some media exposure for the book. And I'm very happy to say that that was a successful venture for me. Up here in Canada, for anybody that's watching or listening that's in Canada, I was on City News. I was on Breakfast Television, which is a big show in Toronto in the morning. I did a live interview on a radio station that comes out of BC. I was in a couple of newspapers, and this is my second podcast, which I'm so thrilled to be a part of. And, various blogs and different ventures that I'm doing guest posting for, and just making those relationships. So I really like that side of what I'm doing. And I've realized that it's very important to align yourself and to find those people that are really really rallying for the same things in this life. People that believe in what you're doing and they're doing their own things in their own ways around the same sort of umbrella. And one of those people is definitely you. It's a perfect example. So, I would say that this book is about, I would say that it addresses two of the most important issues facing our youth today. One is bullying and two is mental health. So again, I didn't really know that my book was going to go in the mental health space. And, for the people that have already read it, a lot of them were telling me, this book is just as much about mental health as it is about bullying. It is about kids, and you see it from the different aspects of the characters in the story. So that's why right on the cover, a bully, a victim, and a bystander whose lives will never be the same. Everyone is affected when this kind of stuff takes place in school or outside of school, in life. There are so many people that are involved and intertwined, and it affects us all in different ways and in different capacities. So, there's the story of the bully from the book, and you see that side of it. And then you also see the side of the victim, and intertwined, I won't give too much away, but, intertwined within the story, there's lots of secrecy and things that come out later that a lot of people don't know about. And that's on the part of the victim. And then there is the bystander, and it's the bystander who's actually narrating and telling the story. And so you really get to see the side of, what happens when you see something or you're a part of something. What do you do after that? How do you feel? Are you able to have the voice to speak up, or is it too scary for so many different reasons? Or do you not have that confidence to really go with that instinct of yours to speak up? So, there's that whole side of it. And then, intertwined with that, mental health struggles, and what does that feel like? What does that look like for a teenager? And then, is there a way to pull out of that? Is there a way to make fortune out of the misfortune in the story? And, one of the most exciting parts of the book, in my opinion, and as me writing it, that experience that I had is, yes, it is a heart-wrenching story. It is emotional. That was 100% my intention. It's my intention to make people really feel something when they read this. And I want to somehow try to evoke the next level of change, that small step in the right direction, by making people first feel something through this telling of the story. And then from there, if they can even just decide to make one positive step that next day, maybe don't say that mean thing in your head to that person. Spare them, walk on. Maybe if you're the person who witnesses something, go to that person, ask if they're okay. See if you can tell someone that you really, really trust about it. Start that conversation, get things moving in the right direction. Decide maybe not to go on social media that day and be part of the evil aspects of it. There's so many good aspects of social media. It can connect us, but it can also very much segregate us. So, just finding that one small positive step in the right direction, that is where it needs to start for certain. And, the key message in my book that all of this is sort of driving home is I truly believe that in order to have change in a positive direction, there has to be one step that comes before any other step, and that is to talk. And I believe the even first step in that is talking to yourself in your mind. Some people that I've spoken to and even interviewed about past experiences that they've had, they've said that they were not even aware in that first sort of incidence that this really was bullying or that this was unfair behavior towards them. So the first step is really saying to yourself, this is a problem. I don't deserve this. I deserve to be treated better. And I'm going to now carry this forward. The next step for that talking to take place would be, what is that one person that you trust? It could be a teacher. It could be a coach. It could be a friend. It could be a family member, a sister, a brother, a cousin, even an aunt or uncle, a grandparent. Who's that one person in your life that you feel you could really open up to about whatever it is you're going through? And it's not only if you're a victim. What are you going through as the bystander? What are you going through as the victim, as the bully? Bullying doesn't come out of nowhere. Why do you feel the need to have that behavior towards somebody else? And how can you use your power of speech to get through that, to open up and be vulnerable, to get to a next more positive stage where you don't feel the need to act that way anymore?
That's fantastic. And you touched on so many different levels. And that's a big thing that I talk about a lot, the scary statistic. And I don't like statistics. I'm not a statistic guy. But I found that sometimes I got a hashtag called Right Hook Reality. You pop somebody with a good certificate, a statistic. I guess it's a certificate to listen, but a statistic that shocks them. And just like your whole intent of this book is whoa, it's a wake-up call that it's out there. But the scary statistic is the second leading cause of death for ages 10 to 34. Now think about this, 10 to 34 is suicide. Now,
I was just thinking in my head, please don't tell me it's suicide.
That is. And it's always been around 17 to 24. But in the last several years, now the latest statistic on that number was 2019. So I can't even imagine what it is now. And then there's an estimated nearly 1 billion people, it's reported, and this was once again 2019, will go to bed every single night lacking hope, faith, and self-confidence and belief that tomorrow is going to be better. Now, there's roughly 7.7 billion people on the planet today, and nearly 1 billion people go to bed every night with that feeling. And then, of course, as you said, social media, and I call the mainstream media the devil's workshop, because all it does is plant negativity and garbage in your mind, telling you it plants fear, it plants hate, it plants self-doubt, it plants gloom and doom. And what you plant, and that's a big part of the book and a big part of the presentation, is I call it weeds, seeds, and trees. What if you've got a garden and you're going to plant something, first thing you got to do is dig up the weeds, because regardless, so you listen to our podcast here, you read a book, you read some inspirational, that's great. But if you've got so much weed or garbage in your mind, what do weeds do to seeds? They suffocate them out and they kill them, right? So you got to dig those weeds out of that mental garden first, and then plant the seed on the fertile soil, and then continue to nurture by continue giving it the positive influence. And what something I get all the time is people say, well, motivation doesn't last. Well, Zig Ziglar would always say, well, neither does bathing. That's why we recommend it, encourage it every single day.
I love that.
But no, that's the scary statistic. And bullying absolutely affects everybody. No one that's a part of any bullying situation ever walks away from it feeling good about themselves. The bully doesn't feel good. Chances are they were bullied, and their only outlet, especially as kids, is to bully someone else, because that's the way they see their family. So it's kind of an inherent thing. Doesn't make it right, but that's what it is. And of course, the victim feels horrible, and everybody else standing around, and that's what the Bulletproof brand is all about, is empowering others with hope and self-confidence to stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves. But first, you got to be able to do it for yourself. And sort of like you go on a plane, and they talk about, look, if the atmospheric pressure changes, the mask drop down, who puts the mask on? You put the mask on yourself first before you put it on your child. Why? Because you got to make sure that you're able to stay calm before you try and do it to your child. Well, the same thing here. Bullyproof is empowering you to have the bullyproof armor to stand up. Now you can help others, but you can't help others if you can't help yourself. And that's the whole part of it, is it's that hope, self, and strength and perseverance and self-confidence. But yeah, people standing around, oh man, I wish somebody would do something. I wish somebody would say something, but no one ever does. Well, be that person.
Right.
But it's easier said than done, like everything in life, right?
Yeah, it's very true. And, you touched on something else there that reminds me of another saying and sort of famous story, even for mothers, because there was it's a question that a teacher posed to a class, if you had only one sandwich left and no other food in sight, and you're there with your two children, what do? Do you split the sandwich in half and you give it to your children, or do you eat it so that then you can be stronger and not so starving to then go out and figure out how to get your kids, more food? And the answer is the shocking one. You give it to yourself, but that's because you then have the power. And just as I love that analogy you said, the weeds, seeds, and trees, that's you giving yourself the foundation that you need to then go out in the world, go forward, and find a way to sustainably get your children more food on a regular basis, right? So that they can live and thrive and become wonderful people. It isn't about only that one sandwich there, right, in your immediate view.
Well, my buddy Mark Barton. Mark, how we doing, bud? Said he recently saw a story of an 11-year-old boy who hung himself from his bunk bed because he was being bullied. Mind blowing. This actually occurs. thanks for what you do to help out our youth. Well, you're welcome, Mark. I love you, buddy. I hope all's well. Remember, get on down to Florida here, get a hold of me, and we'll get together here. And Katie, remember, Mark, check out Katie's book too. Good stuff. So many different levels there, and really so much to unpack. But it all boils down to it. So let me back up a step. Something I often talk about because it really is the empowerment thing. So, Katie, you're in Toronto. You're throwing a pebble in the pond. Mark and Chris and a handful of others, Kevin and so many others. I can't say everybody's name here. They're doing it. All our associates are throwing pebbles in the pond, which is fantastic because what are pebbles in a pond? It creates ripples. Well, my thought is, why don't we all collectively work together? And I call that the power and unity of the fist. Work together and pick up a huge, massive boulder and throw that sucker in the pond. So it's not just a ripple, man. We're flooding the banks with it. And that's how change happens. But like you said, it starts with one step. A journey of 1,000 miles, what's it start with? One step. But you got to be willing to take that step.
Yes.
And instead of saying, well, not me. Well, if not you, who? If not when? If not now, when? And but be willing to do those things. And is it easy? Gosh darn no. Nothing in life is easy.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to take that step and be a leader.
For sure. And I do think, it's a little bit of a multi-pronged approach. So if we all start talking about this more and more and more, from kids to teens to adults, and in different avenues, right? Maybe it's spoken about more in school. Maybe it's on your soccer field with your coach. Maybe it's here, maybe it's there. More of that, so that we can get back to a more positive state almost as a world on this particular topic, right? So I feel as though almost right now we just keep getting more and more stories coming out about this person, this poor child committing suicide, and this child, that was that most recent story, Drake Hardman in the States, and he didn't tell his parents, he couldn't, or he didn't feel ready. Who knows what the real reasons behind that were? But I mean, that's another one that really just broke my heart. And the fact that these young children, I mean, to me as a mother now too, to think that this child even knows about suicide at that age and even knows how to do that, that is so alarming and so scary. And, I think that if, and I'm not saying this is necessarily my book, I hope that it is, but it might not be me. And I'm not saying I'm the full solution, but by having this narrative, this book, my real hope is to get into schools. And I'm really trying to work on that right now so that it becomes part of a small unit, health and physical education. And we explore this book and then we talk about it so that it becomes part of that regular dialogue, something that is taught and is spoken about, so that when there is something to speak up about that happens either at school or outside of school, nobody feels scared. Everybody feels accepted. You're going through this, well, I'm going through this. That saying that everybody talks about. We're all fighting our own battles. We're all going through things. We're all just the same human beings on this earth going through things. If we share that more in a way that is completely something not to be ashamed about, something to be almost open and honest, so that we can help each other rally up, push forward, then the hope and the dream, at least on my standpoint, is that then that bully doesn't stand any ground. They will be stopped because it was stopped right away. It was spoken about. It was ended. I did this one visual sort of segment too that I put together with building blocks just to illustrate, here's a bully and here's the victim. You start as just 2 blocks, right? And then, this one's going after this one for whatever reason, possibly no reason at all. But if, then you can build up each side by different people talking. So a friend stands up for you on social media, you're the victim. Another one tells a teacher. The school hosts a workshop about anti-bullying initiatives. And then even over here on the bullying side, you talk openly, you tell somebody, you go see a therapist, you get to talk about what you're going through also. You have a voice too, that's extremely important. And so then what we're left with is not just 2 single blocks, we're left with 2 big towers of blocks that are bigger, stronger, and more reinforced than they were before. And then if we bring them together, then what we have is one joint community, and we're all just working together and lifting each other up.
That's fantastic. I love that analogy. Fantastic. You said you have a video illustrating?
I do have a video of that, actually. I didn't put it out anywhere yet. It's just something I put together as sort of a visual segment if I ever need it. Hope I do.
Well, I'm going to give you a nudge. Please get that thing out. And folks, you heard it here first. So when you see it out there, make sure you share it. That's powerful. And that's how the ripple effect continues. You hear something from us or on any another motivational podcast or live stream or video blog, share that content, share that information. Everybody's so quick to share all the negative. Everybody's so quick to complain. Why can't we be just as quick to share something that's going to be helpful? I mean, think about it. If you shared it with somebody else, if you shared Katie's book or my book comes out with somebody else and it helped save a life, help save an innocent child's life. I mean, my gosh, and especially I'm going to hit the heartstrings of parents out there. Think about your child. We never know the battles nobody knows the battles we're going through. But if we don't communicate, which is a huge part of our ABCs to become bully-proof, is communicate clearly and confidently. If we don't communicate, we don't know what's going on. We need to spend that time. We need to ask those tough questions. And I talk about this a lot. And Katie, it sounds like you do as well, which is fantastic. Keep that communication channel with your kids open, because if they can't come to you for small problems when they're young, there's no way they're going to come to you with big problems when they get older, because that communication line isn't there. So make sure that communication line's there. You know, one thing we do at the Martial Arts Academy is every single class, and we've done this for as many years as I can remember, we do what's called a mat chat. And a mat chat's right dead in the middle of class, and we'll call the kids over to take a knee, and we'll say, all right, parents, hey, listen up, you know, put your phones down and listen in, because I want you to reiterate this and talk about this with the kids on the way home to continue, one, to communicate with the kids, but to water that seed that we just planted in their mind. And we rotate the bullying in every quarter. And we talk about manners, discipline, respect, self-confidence, and life skills, character development. All those things are wrapped in there. And because of that, and because of what we focus primarily on, that's helped the Academy grow. And it's actually what helped me move to Florida. And the Academy is being run by a 26-year-old kid who's been with me 16 years. He's managing it, and we're owning it from afar. But that's people that listen to podcasts, you've heard me talk about this before. But this is circling around to a point about Katie with the schools. I've given, and this is no lie, 500 plus presentations, speeches, workshops in schools. And that's what we won Business of the Year a few years ago in Edwardsville, Illinois. And of course, that's hometown, lived there forever. And because of everything we did with community service, getting out there. So the key to get in the schools for you, Katie, and others, one, you got to be willing to offer something that's valuable. You got that, but you cannot be going in. I did everything for free for the schools because I knew the return on investment was, one, I'm actually planting seeds in the right minds, but I also knew that it was a feeder program for the Martial Arts Academy, which helped spread the message to more and more. But you can't go in there expecting something in return other than what you're really going to get out of it from your heart. So do it from that point of view. And the second thing, probably the biggest, the gatekeepers in the schools or the secretaries to get to the principals, bring food. Everybody loves food, so always bring food in. That's always a go-to, and then talk about what you're doing there. So this is a little tip on how to get into the schools.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. That's fantastic.
We got a few more notes here. Great idea to get involved with the schools. Thanks, Mark. Get the video link to our educators. Okay, that's a great idea, Mark. So Katie, another idea of getting that building block thing out. That's another one. You know, maybe send the email to the superintendent. Hey, here's something I put together, or a shorter version of it, because obviously they get a lot of emails. But anything to open those doors with something that they can see value in. And Chris had talked about brief story. I found out years later that my most brutal middle school bully was terribly abused from the age of 2. I forgave him immediately. Yeah, Chris, thank you for sharing that. Oftentimes, you know, it's a learned behavior. I mean, it really, really is. Yeah. And unfortunately, it's the kids, that's the only way they know how to express themselves. Once again, it doesn't make it right, and it doesn't mean it's okay. It needs to be stopped. But we got to remember, the bully is a behavior. It's a kid, is a person who needs love and needs and discipline too. I'm a firm believer in there. You need to have consequences for actions, but with that, there's got to be love involved as well, or it's never going to get any better. So good stuff. Thank you, Mark, Chris, and all our other friends sharing feedback and comments. As always, just joining us, we got Katie Kuperman here, Superman Kuperman. Got it right that time. And we're talking about her book, The Only Way Out, make sure you pick it up there. Fantastic. And she's going through all kinds of different, not only philosophies, but techniques and examples and stories of, bullying's, I talk about this. Bullying's never going away. It's been around since the first two brothers walked the face of the earth. Right. I wasn't around then. And with social media, it's going to get even worse. But what we can do is spread awareness. What we can do is empower each other with stories, with like-minded ideas. And then also, there's really no new ideas out there, but we can recreate old ideas or something we've heard before in order to use that to empower our group and put it in our terms to empower others.
Absolutely.
Wowzers. Good stuff.
Excellent.
And we've had our share of technical difficulties, but we didn't get bullied by the Bluetooth, the podcast equipment.
That's right. You stood up to it.
Stand up to that bullying. Become bullyproof. And what that's all about, that's that bullyproof armor. I kind of borrowed that from the Bible, the armor of God. But you're putting that armor on to deflect the negative arrows of the world. And the example I give all the time is, you wouldn't go outside without clothes on. Just wouldn't do it. Well, why do we get on social media and why do we go to send our kids to school without their bullyproof armor on to protect them from the negative arrows that are coming their way? And the two most vital parts that the bullies do attack as our most sensitive and vulnerable areas, our heart and our mind. And of course, that's also the meanest bully we'll ever encounter is the bully we hear in our mind and we see in the mirror. And then, of course, our heart is right there. And we've all had our heart broke by somebody at some point in time. We know how hard that is to mend that thing. And then sometimes when that heart does mend, it becomes hardened, which, yes, we want to be strong, but we don't want to forget how to love and how to care and encourage and support others.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's such a big part of it, too, knowing that you are your worst own critic, right? And coming to terms with that and recognizing it, because I think it's just a way of human life. It's a certain way that we think in our minds. And, I remember reading a book a long time ago, The New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. And it was really going through the fact that, your mind has a whole bunch of thoughts. We all do, running at a mile a minute, maybe faster if you're really hyper, but that idea that you have all these thoughts, some of them negative, some of them positive, but knowing that you are the person behind those thoughts. You're not necessarily the thought itself. So learning to separate that out and to filter in, the bad and the good and be able to dismiss, okay, that was a negative thought. That's all right. Acknowledge it, but know when to dismiss it too. And, I think it's so important too, to extend that conversation around communication, no matter who you are. I think there could be a lot of emphasis right now on, the victim needs to speak up. The victim needs to tell everybody, but what about everybody else? There's lots of people involved and including the bully. I love what you said, that the bully is not the person, it's an action, it's a behavior. And, one thing that Todd always says too, is I always say the bullying behavior or the bullying incident, not that person is a bully, because we all make mistakes and we all have things that we can fix about ourselves. And maybe it was intentional and maybe it wasn't, so it's an action and it can be corrected and addressed in many different ways.
Sure. Well, and a big part, it needs to be stopped early, because very rarely does bullying ever physical right off the bat. It usually starts off with name calling, usually starts off with making fun jokes. And sometimes, I get asked all the time, especially in sports, what's the difference between hazing and bullying? Well, there is a line there, but when it's crossed, and what that line is, if everybody's enjoying it, including the person that's getting hazed, is laughing along and kind of giving it back, that's just guys rubbing each other, guys having fun with each other. But if it gets to the point where one person is dominating the other person isn't saying anything, isn't doing anything, that's when the exchange of power takes place. And that's when the bullying behavior happens, because one person is rising up and the other person is getting more and more defeated. So there's a different exchange in power. There's not this back and forth. It's this way. And the quicker you're able to stop that, and be aware of that. That's the A in our ABCs to become bullyproof: awareness and avoidance. Aware of what's going on around you, aware of what you're putting in your mind, and avoid dangerous, negative situations. Avoid negativity in your mind the best you can. In the negativity, just like weeds in a garden. The better you are at seeing and recognizing a weed and tilling that baby up, you're dealing with them one at a time, as opposed to trying to deal with them all at once. That's tough to do, right? Because in your mind, now you got, with one bully in your mind, now you got 2, 3, 4, now they're all, and you mentioned thoughts. On average, we have anywhere from 85 to 90,000 thoughts a day. And if you're hyperactive, you get 100 and something thousand thoughts a day. And you would go absolutely nuts with those thoughts all in your head. But you got a part of your subconscious mind called the reticular activating system, which acts as a filter. And what it does is it filters out all those other thoughts and gives you what you think about and what you focus on the most. So by us planting the seed right now of bullying awareness, of standing up, of empowering others, we have now planted a seed in people's mind. So you're going to be seeing, my gosh, I just saw another article about bullying. I just saw another thing about this. And I always give the example, if you ever bought a new car and you drive that car off the parking lot, suddenly you see that car everywhere. And yes, you're cool and all, but just because you bought that blue truck doesn't mean everybody decided to go out and buy a blue truck. It was always there, but you were never able to focus on it because it wasn't the top of the mind awareness. And that's the beauty of the reticular activating system. And the beautiful thing about subconscious mind, I always encourage, I meditate every night. I've got a streak of 404 days going now of meditation. And I've meditated for 20, maybe 30 years, but never very consistent. But it's the last thing I put in my mind. So my subconscious mind is working during sleep. It's chewing on that. And all I know is I've slept a heck of a lot better than I have. And I still have my stressors. I still have my challenges. I still have my battles that I fight as well. But I know if I get better sleep and my mind is chewing on something, I wake up a lot more refreshed and I wake up in a better mood, not waking up mad as heck at the world.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. I was meditating a lot at one point, and recently I dropped it, but it's something that I want to go back to. I think it was in the middle of my media haze here with the book. I just kind of focused on that, and at least that was all positive, great things, great stuff there. But yeah, it is something I wanted to go back to too. I really do believe in that as well, having that stillness, even if it's just for a few minutes. How many minutes do you do it for each night?
Minimum of 10. I use, and I don't get anything for this, but I'll give a shout out to the Calm app, CALM.
Yes, I know about that one.
And then Headspace is another one. It wasn't for me, but I know a lot of my mentors use Headspace as another one. But Calm's the one I use, and it's kind of cool now that I got a streak of 404 days going.
Yeah, congratulations. That's great.
Yeah, and I don't know how many, like I said, for as many years as I can remember. And with martial arts, obviously, there's a part of it, just meditation, just shutting down, and we call it emptying the cup. If the cup is full, I have my hot tea here. If this is full, I can't put anything else in it. What's going to happen? It's going to splash out. I have to empty the cup, means drink whatever is going on in the day today. And that's a way of, one of the things I think about meditating, just passing this on, is a sink full of dirty water. Gross, yes. But I pull the plug and it starts spinning, right? Spinning, and it goes down, and the water finally goes down. Then I follow it down to a bigger pipe that gets into a smaller pipe, but it travels so far that the small pipe is now just a drip. So every thought that was maybe negative or I need to get rid of drips away and it's gone. Drips away and it's gone. So the process takes a little bit, and your mind will do this. Those listening and have never meditated before, your mind's going to wander. Without a doubt. And the best example I can give on that, and I heard this from one of my mentors at a conference I was at years ago. He said, think about this. If you have a baby and you're at the beach and you put the baby on the blanket, hopefully far enough away from the water, the baby's inevitably going to crawl off of that blanket. Now, same thing with your mind. Your mind, especially if you're not used to it, is going to wander off. But what we do is we get onto ourselves like, gosh dang it, you idiot. Why can't you focus? Well, that's negative stuff. You're calling yourself an idiot. But think about the baby again. Do you beat the baby because it did what a baby does, which is crawl off the blanket? Gosh dang it, baby, I told you to stay here. No, you simply pick the baby up and put it back on the blanket. How many times? Well, as many times as the baby climbs off the blanket or crawls off. Well, the same thing with your mind. Realize your mind is a baby on the blanket. It's going to wander off. Don't yell at it. Don't call yourself an idiot and beat it up. And don't say, well, I guess I'm never meditating. Well, I guess I'm just going to let the baby crawl in the ocean. No, be patient with it. Easier said than done. Absolutely. But I'm going to give a shout out to our brand, Grogan's Bulletproof and Kicking Life. That is what it's all about. Empowering you to believe in yourself with that armor. to live your best Kickin' Life. And Kickin' Life was actually the name of the brand for the first several years, but we had to explain it too much. Nobody got it. I'm like, well, you want to empower yourself to, be, and I had Bulletproof. I got that from Bulletproof and the Armor of God, so that went in there. But Kickin' Life is the pinnacle, baby. Instead of life kicking your butt, you're learning, you're doing everything you can to live that best Kickin' Life. So now you're kicking life's butt and living the life you were designed to live. And that life is, man, it's kicking butt, baby. That's a Kickin' Life.
Nice. I love that.
Awesome. Well, gosh darn, got to keep putting the glasses on now because, well, the reading glasses can't. If I had the computer all the way across the room, I could probably read everything. But it's not that I can't see anymore. My arms just aren't long enough, and I'm not far enough away. That's what I like to say.
That's a great line.
Oh gosh. Well, goodness gracious, we've been going at this for over an hour. Some technical difficulties, which we battled through. We didn't give up, perseverance, and all kinds of feedback and comments and some great stories and insight and son of a gun. And once again, those that on the live stream, thank you for all the questions. Those just listening to the podcast, join us next on Thursdays so you can interact with the conversation as well. And you can see what the guests look like. You'll see a picture on the social media if you follow me there and on YouTube, but being able to interact is great. And those on the live stream, make sure you subscribe to the Grogan's Bulletproof podcast and hit that bell. Well, I guess that bell's on YouTube. And I guess there's a subscribe bell on the podcast app as well. So you get notified of every new episode or show that airs so you can stay caught up, you can stay empowered. And as Zig always says is motivation doesn't last. Well, neither does bathing. That's why I encourage it daily. Well, being bulletproof and living a kicking life doesn't last unless you work on it daily. So make sure you do so. Chris said the show is incredible. Have a wonderful day. God bless you, Chris. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you so much, Chris.
And Mark and all our other friends out there. Well, Katie, give us a good send-off. We've had so many golden nuggets. That's why I encourage people to listen to it again. And then the best thing to do is share this with someone that you know could benefit from this message. Because like I said, nearly 1 billion people go to bed every single night lacking hope, self-confidence. Their self-esteem is shot. Their self-respect is gone. They have literally no self-discipline to do the right thing because they just feel defeated. So share this with somebody. You never know what kind of impact you're going to have on their life or help them.
Yeah, absolutely. And, to those people, I would say, I know there's a lot going on in the world right now. And, I've had these conversations with various people recently, what with the horrible war overseas that has really gotten me quite emotional, actually, I'll be honest, this time. And the bullying stuff and all these children. And then, even just yesterday, someone sharing these literally quite freaky life accidents that can happen where people literally just die on a fluke accident, whether it's a ski accident or a random fall down the stairs. I mean, life is fragile, life is precious. And the one thing I would say is there is still a lot of joy in this life and in this world. There is a lot of happiness. Do you need to find it? Yes. Do you need to figure out what yours is? Yes. And do you need to figure out how to get it and how to live it? And you touched on a great point a couple times in this podcast too. How do you continue it? It's so simple to be on a positive sort of wavelength one day, and then you get down another day, which by the way is completely human and completely normal. And I always encourage people to say, don't beat yourself up because of that either. You're allowed to be in a bad mood. You're allowed to have a bad day. That's okay, but just get back to your place, get back to that positive life that you deserve to live, that you can live to your fullest, because everyone deserves that and everybody can do that. So in this world right now, let's call it our crazy world for a second, find that joy and find that happiness. And I am just a huge advocate of open communication, honest communication. It fosters healthy relationships. It helps you connect better with people. It helps you speak up about things that are happening that you deserve to speak up about. It could stop something. It could change a life. It could improve a life. I really think that's sort of my key message. Find your happiness. You deserve it. Search for it. Find it. And then keep it going and foster it through open and honest communication with all the people in your life.
Fantastic. Well, good stuff. Wow. What a great show.
Thank you so much for having me. You're a true inspiration. I love everything that you're doing. And I was really, really honored to be here.
Well, thank you, and thanks for what you're doing all the way up in Canada there in Toronto. And that's another thing, folks. I just cannot say this enough. Everybody's got a gift, whatever that gift is. For those that are listening for the first time, because people ask all the time, well, can you tell me what my gift is? No, I can't. Only you know that gift, but you may not realize what it is. But I guarantee you, your friends, your close friends probably do. And it's what you do or what you would do without making a dollar, without getting paid. But maybe you're just afraid to share it with the world because no one else is maybe doing it. And that's even more sacred of a gift. Thing I like to share is don't expect everybody to see your vision, to know your gift, because God didn't give them eyes to see the vision that he gave you. They've got their own, just like you've got your own. Now, is it easy? No. This is episode number 301 for our podcast. Are there a lot of times I did not want to do this? Absolutely, yes. But I know how good I feel when I'm doing this. I know how great I feel when I'm done, and getting a chance to meet Katie and interact and, share like-minded stories of bully-proof and bully prevention and anti-bullying. Holy cow. And then our friends jumping on, giving comments and feedback. That's empowering. And another saying and philosophy is, how do you get everything you want in life? By simply helping enough other people get what they want. Doing something to empower others is going to come back tenfold. You think about it, you give somebody $1 on the street, and is that going to change their life? Well, it's going to help. You never know. But how good do you feel when you do that? You feel pretty darn good, right? And what did it cost you? And a story I like to tell, I'll wrap it up quick here. A learning lesson for my kids. We were coming back, Austin and I went to Tony Robbins conference up in Chicago. And we're coming back through all empowered and jacked up and feeling good. And the worst thing about any conference is the Monday you get home, because you left there feeling good, and then Monday life kicks back in, right? And you forget to stay empowered. You're like, oh, that's why the bathing doesn't last. Neither is motivation. You got to do it daily. But anyway, we're driving back, and I said, watch this, Austin. Go through the toll bridge, and I give the person the 50 cents. I gave him $1. I said, I want to cover the next person that comes through that's nice to you, cover theirs. Now, 50 cents. That's all it is. So I paid, and coming through, and this van comes screaming up behind us, and the kids are in the car, and they're all waving. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It cost me 50 cents. And I'm telling this story 8 years later because of how good it made. I mean, did I do it to feel good? Probably. I'll be honest. I don't know. But 50 cents for that. And those people, probably say, man, I thought the world was bad, but somebody paid for this, and it excited the kids, and maybe they passed it on. They did it for somebody else. But it's just a good feeling.
Oh, that is awesome. I love that. Pay it forward.
Pay it forward. Absolutely. All right, folks. Well, good stuff. Katie, I cannot thank you enough for your time, what you're doing. Please continue. Please continue to follow. Man, the tip hopefully will help what I give you about schools to get in there, and those listening want to get into schools. Food is the key to that, but also the key is make sure you're giving and not doing it because an ulterior motive, because word will get around and they will not have you back. That is for doggone sure. And it's unfortunate too many people have done that, so now they got their guard up of anybody coming into schools to give something away because they're leery of that. But if you do it from the heart and they know it, and like I said, food's a good way in. It's a gateway because you're giving without expecting anything back. Boy, you can impact just obviously the not only the 1,000 kids or 500 kids at that particular school, but the other schools are going to follow because they'll talk, good or bad. They're going to talk to lead in to get into others. Yeah.
I really just want to make that maybe teeny impact in even one kid's life, by being there. That's the goal. Absolutely. Good stuff. Well, folks, thank you so very much for taking time out of your busy day. As I mentioned, if you found value in this, please share it with someone else. Make sure you pick up a copy of Katie's book. And I always like to say, pick up 2, one for you and one to gift to somebody else. And then, of course, my goodness, that is so interesting that you said that, because I ran a campaign on social media and I said, I'm giving away 2 free signed books. One is for you and one is for someone else that you think could benefit from this message. So I love that. Thank you. Nikes.
Well, boom. So I was writing out some, I probably need your help with content writing, but because I get too wordy. But that part was easy. Help. Hey, buy 2, one for you and one to gift to somebody else. Why? It feels good to gift somebody, right? Yeah. And of course, it gets the word out even more. All right, folks, well, share this if you found value. reach out, connect with Katie online, and follow her and the amazing things she's doing. And hopefully that's the empowerment you need to live, become bully proof and live that best kick in life. All right. I love you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm sorry. I cut you off, Katie. You get the last word before my sign off.
That's okay. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Folks, I love you. Katie loves you. God loves you. Please share that love with the world. And until we talk again, you get out there and do your best. And I promise you'll be your very best. You'll become bully proof. Yes. And you'll live your best kick in life. God bless you. God bless your loved ones. Thanks for tuning in. Can't wait to read the rest of your comments and can't wait to chat with you again real soon. Have a blessed day, everybody. Bye-bye.